This is a callous violation of international law and the United Nations Charter. It is a deliberate effort of a powerful atheistic government to subjugate an independent Islamic people.
December 1979. Russia, ignoring international condemnation, waged war on the Asian country of Afghanistan. The Russians were met by a surprisingly determined 250,000-strong unified Muslim army bent on purging this communist terror from their land. The tenacious Mujahideen, armed with Russian-made Kalashnikovs, became the freedom warriors glamorized by films such as Rambo 3. Their steadfast faith was their only asset. When Ronald Reagan succeeded Carter as president, he blessed the Mujahideen, calling them freedom fighters, and covertly backed this insurgents with billions of dollars of state-of-the-art military equipment. In their eyes, this was Russia's Vietnam. And like America almost a decade earlier, duration would eventually erode Russian morale. The CIA came into the picture and was responsible for training these Muslim warriors in the art of sabotage and other covert tactics. The international Western media sanctioned this war and reiterated its holy objectives. The Muslims opposed communism on religious grounds and the West on political grounds. In theory, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Osama bin Laden came to Afghanistan from a rich and prominent family in Saudi Arabia, where he was the 17th son of more than 50 siblings. With his money and powerful Saudi connections, he rallied financial support for the Afghan cause and became its greatest private financier. Being involved in his family's construction company gave him the necessary skills to build much-needed roads and hospitals in Afghanistan. Osama became a source of mystical inspiration for many. He was a man who sacrificed a life of luxury for a life of dedication to his Muslim brothers. In 1989, what was thought impossible became reality when Russia retreated, defeated, and humiliated from Afghanistan. 15,000 Russians and over 1 million Afghan warriors were lost in this 10-year holy war. December 1991. With the fall of the Soviet Union, America rejoiced as years of anti-communist rhetoric and Cold War tactics had triumphed. In America's eyes, democracy had prevailed as light outshines darkness. America, having what she really wanted, turned away from Afghanistan and all the promises she had made. Afghanistan was left in ruins. 2/3 of the population became refugees.
Once we had won the war, or once, or I should say the Afghans won the war with our help, we walked away. We walked away and we left it to Pakistan and we left it to Saudi Arabia to rebuild the area and to reestablish civil order.
For Afghanistan, the success bred of devotion had paid off, and now the warriors sought to continue their success by fighting against oppression on a global scale. In Bosnia, Chechnya, Kashmir, Sudan, and Somalia, they had become the police of the Islamic world. However, a bitter soreness born from betrayal was brewing for America, their former allies. In 1991, a new war was waged against Saddam Hussein for his invasion of oil-rich Kuwait, a country with enormous American investment. Prior to this, America, via its dubious tentacles, namely the CIA, had aided Saddam's rise to power during the Iran-Iraq War. Saudi Arabia, bordering Kuwait, felt threatened by Saddam's army and turned to the USA, a non-Muslim power, for defense. In the eyes of the Muslim world, the leaders of Saudi Arabia had turned to a non-Islamic force for the defense of the cradle of Islam. A strange and unacceptable dilemma. To add insult to injury, after the war against Saddam was won, America decided to set up a permanent base in Saudi Arabia. In the eyes of Osama bin Laden and the majority of the conscious Muslim world, this act defaced Islam's sacred sites. For his blatant outspokenness against the restrictive Saudi monarchy, bin Laden was stripped of his citizenship and publicly disowned by his family. Enraged and infuriated, bin Laden declared unlimited war on all Americans, soldiers, and civilians. An act outside of the fold of Islam.
A few months ago, and again this week, bin Laden publicly vowed to wage a terrorist war against America, saying, and I quote, "We do not differentiate between those dressed in military uniforms and civilians. They're all targets. Their mission is murder, and their history is bloody.
In 1992, bin Laden found a new home in Sudan, a nation of Islamic people being ruled by an Islamic system of government. Bin Laden contributed significantly to this poor African country by building roads and hospitals. According to the CIA, bin Laden used Sudan as a cover for international terrorist training camps. In December 1992, American troops once again found themselves in another Muslim country, Somalia, with allegedly noble intentions. Once again, this was viewed by the Muslim world as an extension of American control, a base to monitor and suppress any Islamic uprising. When the World Trade Center was bombed in 1993, Sudan was caught in America's political backlash, as heavy sanctions were waged upon them, and they were branded with the dubious title, "A state that sponsors terrorism." In 1995, Sudan felt America's military fury when a pharmaceutical store was targeted and innocent people were killed. American intelligence reported that this store was a haven for terrorist activities. Sudan renounced these claims and opened the investigations, which were later internationally confirmed. The findings showed that the store was just that, a store, and nothing more. Not only did this show the unreliability of American intelligence information, but also its clear neglect for Muslim lives. In 1998, terror struck a double blow in Kenya and Tanzania almost simultaneously. American embassies were targeted by a truck bomb. What shocked the world was the majority of casualties were poor African Muslims. The terrorists were prepared to kill their own to further their cause.